I'll just get started. So my name is Ash Eldridge. This is Aaron Vargas. We are co-founders of a company that's basically leveraging glass to deliver tools for surgeons. So we've got a couple of co-founders who are they're surgeons over in Stanford Hospital. We've been doing this for about 7 months now. So it's an interesting domain because there are some very great opportunities. There are also, some pitfalls and some unique kind of circumstances related to the operating room environment that have led to some interesting design choices for us. So Aaron's going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm just going to quickly run through. This is going to be very high level. There's no code. If you do want to ask technical questions, then feel free, and we'll have a shot at it. So just how many people actually have used or own glass? Okay, all right, that's fine. So I should be able to run through these fairly quickly, but basically it's a very different form factor, of course, and what that means is that the way that you interact with it is quite significantly different. So there are 4 major ways of interacting with the glass right now, or inputting into the glass. There's a voice recognition, using the microphone that's built in, of course. Then the touchpad on the side, and there's a wink gesture, which recently was introduced. And then there's motion as well, which is what we're going to kind of mostly focus on a bit later. I'll just skip through this actually because I'll maybe mention a couple of things. With the voice input, if you're in a noisy environment, of course, it's the same as with your phone. It can get a bit confused. At the same time, I use it when I'm cycling actually. I use it for navigation and it's pretty amazing for that. But if you try and give it any directions, if there's a lot of wind coming at you, then you're not going to hear anything. So you've got to think about something else if you want to build an app, for example, for running or for cycling. And also, of course, if you have a breath and you're like at it, then you're going to struggle with that as well. And then, also mentioned by Tejas, but uncommon vocabulary, so domain-specific vocabulary is tough. The one approach that I've seen is the voice recognition will give you back a whole bunch of different options with a kind of level of confidence associated, and then you can maybe, after the fact, use that against your kind of subset of domain-specific phrases to try and kind of disambiguate. But it is tough right now. All right, so in terms of what you can actually do with a touchpad, you probably, of course, used it, so you're aware that there's a forward swipe, there's a backward swipe, there's a tap, and then there are some multi-touch interactions as well. So examples of that is forward and backward swipes to get through the horizontally kind of oriented navigation. You can drag along to change the volume. So again, that's the horizontal swipe, but with a slightly different way of kind of using that. And then double touch to zoom. I've not seen any examples of like pinch to zoom because that's a bit awkward, but there is a double touch, so it's kind of multi-touch. And that's the touchpad. And then there's the wink, again, was recently introduced, and the only kind of baked-in application of that would be taking a photo, but you can pretty easily kind of listen for winks in your own applications and use those for any number of things as a trigger is obviously a very good one. But we have found it to be kind of, it'll fire off almost at random a couple of times a day kind of thing. So I'm sure they're still working on finding that out, but just bear that in mind. All right, I'm going to hand over to you. Sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about an application that I have worked on recently, and so there are a lot of limitations. Ash had covered some of the first ones, and so what we're building is actually glass applications for the medical field. So we have some limitations that aren't necessarily applicable to everybody, but there is lots of places where you can't actually use your hands, like in a sterile environment. So any sort of medical, scientific, and Ash talked about using voice. So in the OR, you don't necessarily want to say, next or go or whatever, and you may actually be controlling somebody else's application if there's more than one set of glass in the OR. Or you just need to say things that are important, not necessarily things that are just applicable to your own class. So what are the other options? So we have put together sort of a head gesture control that mimics the touchpad. So when you turn left and right, that's the same as like a forward and backwards, and then up is back and down is a select. So here, I'll give you a demo of that here, if everything goes okay. Okay, glass, show me vitals. So this is the initial screen, and then as I click my head to the right, I can select the next screen logically, and see as you get closer to the edge, the indicators get brighter. So I can go to my different menu items, then go back and back. And so now I have my patients, and I can go down to do a select. It's the same as a tap. Now I have another menu, and then I can select which patient I want to listen to the vital signs. At this point, I can get the vital signs of the patient. So since this is probably where the surgeon's going to be at for whatever he's doing, after 3 seconds, the hands-free navigation goes away. But if he does need to get it back, we found that the least accidental navigation is actually a tilt to the right. So then it's back on, and then I can do different things. Again, so now I can put the heart rate alarm on or something like that. And if I want to disable the navigation, I can immediately do that by a quick head tilt to the right, and then it goes off. So if I want to turn it back on, notice I've never touched the glass the whole time for the demo. Then I go back up, and I go back up again, and then that brings me back to the main menu. At this point, you can see that so exit is actually highlighted, and select is highlighted as I get closer. So it's easy for the user to see what they're going to do as they move, and then now go out of the application. So that's the hands-free navigation for glass.
Question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you actually tested that with the clinicians? Does that really, do you get false positives a lot?
You do get a look. They have to. You're not going to have it on all the time. You kind of you do what you're going to do, and then you have it go away. And then what I didn't show is it's also on immersive mode, so that it will time out after a while. You don't want glass to be on for 10 minutes at a time, just for like a minute or two at the most. And then whenever the surgeon needs the vital signs again, if he wants to monitor the patient, he tilts his head up, and then you're right back into your vital signs. So we're also building alerts, which will, trigger some of the vital signs if there's an alert condition. But that's looking farther forward. So yeah, there's a few things that you do need to deal with. So timeouts, those are helpful. You don't want your glass on a lot, and you want. So there's two parts of it. You want to keep your wake log on, but you also want to put your navigation on. And so those are two different things that you need to be aware of. Because sometimes you want your navigation to go away right away, and sometimes you want your navigation to stay on and your wake clock to stay on. So those are configured in the application. And allow a deactivation so that once you're where you need to be or you need to do something else, you need to be able to quickly turn it off and not accidentally turn things back on. So that's why we did a roll right for 3 seconds to turn it on, because it's very intentional. So other limitations. The accelerometer on my second pair of glass, my first one had an issue, is a little bit flaky. And so sometimes it thinks it's just scrolling randomly off to the right. So I don't know. I'm not sure if that's going to get fixed. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a new pair of glass. I'm not sure if it's software, it's hardware. So it's, glass is still sort of prototyping. The other thing is, I tried to use it to control glass in general, and using a background service is difficult to inject keystrokes, which can allow you to do different things on glass. So that was a limitation that we're still working around. And also, it's kind of hard to use this if you're like on a bicycle or something like that. So this is more for industry where you have an intention to do something that, you know, you're probably, if you're a mechanic, you know, that you're working on an engine part and and you have grease on your hands or whatever, and you don't want to touch your glass, or if you're in surgery, you're usually at like a stable place that there's a reason that you are, you know, you can't touch your hands, and that probably means that you're not, you know, you're not moving around too much. I mean, in the case of the car, that's an exception that, you know, since it's motion controlled, as you go around a corner, you might, you know, select the option to your left or something like that. So, getting creative here. I'm going to hand you back over to Ash.
Thank you. All right, awesome. So just very briefly to wrap up, we have tossed around a whole bunch of ideas over the past 6 or 7 months about like how you might interact with glass. Obviously, there are situations like we've talked about where you can't use hands, you can't use voice. So we kind of wanted to see what else, you know, might be possible. One thing that we came up with was in order to activate the voice. So this is actually using the voice, but no touch. You would actually use the wink. So that would actually get it to listen, to start listening for, you know, a particular trigger word, whatever you want. And then once it's done, it can then go off and do an activity based on that. We actually built something for the launch hackathon based around this paradigm, and it was basically it's push-to-talk radio, but for the Google Glass, and the use case would be mountaineers or rock climbers, things like that, where you don't have your hands free, but you do have your voice. And it worked really well. The limitation right now with the Google Glass is you do need an internet connection, and it takes a while to go off to the cloud and come back with the translation. So anyway, but that's one option, and it's kind of nice. Getting a bit weirder. One option, actually, this is very much how you look at web pages or browse around web pages on the Glass right now. Is you will actually hold 2 fingers on the side and you look around, and that'll kind of pan through. You know, the smaller window is the glass screen over the wider canvas, which is the web page. If you've seen the Easter egg, the really cool Easter egg in the Glass, one option could be potentially to have actually a 3D sphere around you with navigation options, menu options, whatever it may be, and you can actually kind of look around wherever you like to find those menu options. So it's a bit of an evolution of what Aaron just showed. And then, oh, so just very briefly, eye tracking doesn't exist in Glass right now, but it's something that kind of has been hinted at. So that would be pretty cool. So rather than actually having to move your head, you just move your eyes to indicate which parts of the screen, which triggers you're interested in. Weak frenzy. So it turns out that you can actually listen for sequences of up to 22 winks at a time, which is incredibly useful. Use it for, you know, like date of birth input or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe if you limit it to 1 or 2 or 3 winks, it's useful. You look like an absolute madman if you go above that, but just an option for you. Moving forwards, one thing that's quite exciting and that really is like happening a lot in terms of full augmented reality glasses is using hand gesture recognition. And a lot of that is relying on the front-facing camera on these smart glasses. And the idea is that you can simply kind of, particular gestures indicate a particular thing that a particular command you want to give to the computing device. Thalamic Labs, I don't know if you've seen it, but the Mio is incredibly cool. It basically sits around your wrist and it picks up the nerve impulses, translates those into specific gestures, then it kind of shares those over Bluetooth, so you can use those for, again, for controlling a device. And it's not quite out yet, but you can pre-order it, and you know, I've ordered 2, so definitely well worth it. And that's it from us. Thank you.
What's the difference between a wink and a blink?
Is that a thing? Maybe we mean blink.
Blink?
Yeah. Well, but I mean,
Oh,
you're blinking all the time.
Oh, so what you do is you calibrate it so you have to blink sort of slowly. Like a quick normal blink won't register as a wink. Yeah.
So it's a train event.
It's a plan.
Yeah.
It still doesn't get it quite right all the time. You know, you'll get those ones.
Sir?
You said you have what tested it with surgeons?
Well, we have two founders on the team that are surgeons. They haven't used it in active surgery, but they do have access to the OR, and they can, do sort of a mock surgery, going through the motions to give us feedback, and because they know what they're going to do, and they know what the setup is, and then they know what motions they're in, and then they'll give us feedback on how it would work.
Don't they typically have magnifying
The lopes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're able to wear Google Glass and lopes together. So, or loops, I think it is. On this. Yeah.
So, in terms of battery, like a surgery could last for hours. How do you guys solve that problem?
Yeah, battery is a little bit of an issue. For the most part, though, you don't have it on actively, so it goes to a blank screen, and then in the background, it's not using nearly as much juice. And then when it comes on, obviously it's very battery hungry. So you get almost the normal amount of time that you normally have with the glass light.
But when it comes on, it's a black. It's your immersion app when it comes.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Then it's using a lot of battery when it's active. You, sir?
You'll get the voice activation always on the background thing
Voice activation always on the background? No. We would have loved to do that actually, and we really hope to find a way to do it. There are some, I think, NDK libraries out there that you can maybe leverage. It doesn't come out of the box with Android. It certainly doesn't come out of the box with Google Glass. Like that.
So also that voice icon always show up.
Yeah, so what you do is you basically launch an intent, which brings up a baked-in action specifically that always shows that same screen. You can change the prompt text to be something like, say the name of the person you want to call, whatever it is you want. But you always get kind of the cloud icon and all that stuff, and then it goes off to the cloud, does the processing, and eventually comes back. If you need like really quick interactions with the voice, like for us, it was like you want to instantly talk to someone. The idea was, okay, Bob, how are you doing over there? It should. If you want something that seamless, you're not going to get it right now.
Thank you.
Do you know any groups or organization out there trying to now standardize on some of these user interfaces that tip of the head with gesture?
I mean,
Because like Pinch and Zoom, we all know, right? Cross-platform, right? So that was driven by Apple and also Microsoft. I'm just wondering now with Glass coming out, without some unification, it's like you have to now adjust your user interface and on the device. That's very difficult to get past.
Yeah, well, we tried to make the app. We started before the GDK was out, so like the screens that you see, I mean, those are like those are screens that we made that look the same on an Android phone. And then we said, okay, well, how can we make this look very glass-like and intuitive? And we've actually found that when you put glass with that hands-free navigation on somebody's head that's never used glass before, they have a harder time navigating, and down being back is a kind of a weird thing, and then they're over-swiping. We found that they actually do a better job with hands-free navigation than they did even with the default. So. But to answer your question, we haven't found a standardized UI format
I
out
was
there.
wondering if there's some organizations, some groups out there start to get, basically got a bunch of people, a bunch of companies start talking about it. This is not the new device coming out, so we have to have some common way to navigate through it using these type of devices. But you're not aware of it, right?
No, I haven't seen it.
I don't think even such I'm not sure that something like that even exists for mobile phones. I think there's just kind of a general convergence over years as user expectation kind of draws towards, I expect this gesture to do this.
So from the phone side, basically a lot of this is carried over from PC, the Touchpad, right? So it started out from Microsoft, some of the companies that work with some years up, and I think just this whole different platform, right? Nothing no touch, no.
Nothing yet. One thing worth noting actually is if you are writing for Android already, the D-pad interactions on Android map directly to the touchpad on here, so that may save you some coding if your use case is fairly simple.
you had a slide where you were saying there's limitations, you know, I see how you would like to control glass without hands, right? So have you seen a work that Mike DiGiovanni has done with hands-free software ATB solution? You know, so he's able to control glass, you know, without hands, everything. But his solution is not secure. It uses ATB, and you know, it's you know, if you want to try, have you tried it?
So this would be to be able to control like the entire experience, not a specific app, but anywhere in Glass you can use hands-free.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking to the Google Glass people today about that. They said basically use ADB, but don't, because that's a really dodgy way to do it.
So if you haven't seen it, if you go to like Google Plus, Google Plus and search for Mike DiGiovanni, then you can see he has instructions. It's a little clunky, but it allows you to pretty much have the whole thing. And if you like it, you know, we should like all of us should like pressure Google into making it available. I mean, it seems like a lot of people want hands-free input, and it's just something not available. You know, once they see maybe the dangers of a lot of people using ADB, maybe they'll give us a secure way to do something.
Yeah, let's hope so. Any other questions?